Okay, so continuing from the previous task, we are going to look into the task 2.2 now from the same Osborne practice paper 1. In your workbook, this is in page 92 if you're following the PDF, sorry, not 92, page 91. And if you're looking at the page numbers, this is in page 47. So 91 and 47 from your workbook. And I copied pasted to the Excel sheet already, so let's see what we need to do. So they want you to file first. I downloaded it already, changed the file name, Osborne paper task 2.2. So let's see what do we need to do in this particular file. Open your renamed spreadsheet. In the worksheet called budget information, you need to complete the current budget columns B and C using the budget information you are given. Show relevant cost subtotal figures in column C as negative figures. Put sales and contribution figures in column C. Insert a formula to calculate the total operating profit in column C. So they want you to complete the budget information in column B and C. So let's look at column B and C. So we have this budget information given to you here. We have the number of units sold, sales price of the unit, material cost, labor cost, variable overhead cost, and so many other fixed costs given to you. They want you to calculate this various operating profit and various things. So first they want you to calculate sales, then they want to enter all the variable cost, total all the variable cost. Sales minus variable cost will give you contribution, as you know. Then afterwards calculate all the overheads, put the total overheads, and then the contribution minus all your fixed overhead will give you the profit. So this variable cost and this total overheads are being subtracted to calculate the profit and the contribution, and they want you to show these two values as a minus sign. Okay, so let's continue. So the number of units sold is 2200. You can see over here. And you can see on the top of the question also, number of units sold 2200. First we need to calculate the sales. Selling price is 1000, as you can see on the information. Don't put any information manually. So sales revenue will be sales multiplied by the selling price. Then we need the direct materials. Direct materials will be in the column B. Again, direct materials will be the number of units multiplied by the material cost per unit, which is 320. Direct labor will be the number of units multiplied by the direct labor cost. Variable overhead also will be the same, given per unit. Number of units multiplied by the variable overhead. Once we calculate everything, we need to put this as the variable cost in the column C, total variable cost, equal to, they want you to show it as a minus sign, so you can put minus sum of all these three expenses. And then subtract that to calculate the contribution to 20,000. This is already minus. So again, if you put minus, it will become added. Okay, so to avoid that, don't use any formula. To get to the contribution, just total these two, sum. Because it is a minus sign, it will get automatically subtracted. And you will get a contribution of 1,133,000. Just because it is in a red color, if you want, you can change the font color a little bit to make the difference. Format cells, font, you can say in red. Say OK. Then enter all the remaining rent and rates and everything. I think they are all in the same order, but still don't copy paste. Say equal to and B3, sorry, B10, rent and rates. And then you can copy paste to the next cells to fill up. So it will go B11, B12 and so on up to the distribution cost. So all the overheads are now been copied, 85, 95, 33, 35, 74, etc. in the same order. Do the total overhead cost in this sheet over here equal to, again make sure you show as a minus sign, sum 85,000 to up to 93,500. And calculate the total operating profit, which is the contribution minus the overheads. So your total operating profit, let's try that again. Contribution minus, somehow it's not giving me the correct answer, so I'll enter it manually. Contribution plus the overhead, which will give you a total operating profit of 637,500. If this minus sign was not used, then you might have done contribution minus the overheads in the formula here instead of doing the plus. But because there is already a minus sign, and if I use a minus sign again, instead of getting added, subtracted, they'll get added. So if I use the plus sign to subtract them here, okay? So that's your operating profit. Change this font color into red. So that is the first budget in columns B and C. Let's see the next part of the question. Kabir has now considered additional cost along with the additional revenue which could be earned from the exclusive range of glorious garden centers. So he wants to change your budget figure based on which, because maybe they want to sell something else, some new range called glorious garden centers, and to do this they want to change some of the figures. Okay, insert the relevant figures into columns D and E under the GGC order. So if they take this glorious garden centers orange, GGC, this is the new section of budgets what we need to finish with the new information. Let's see what's the new information. The sales are likely to be an additional 300 units at an average selling price of 700 per unit. So sales is now going to be 300 units extra and average selling price is 700 pounds per unit. So your new sales units is 2,500, 300 units extra. So 2,200 plus 300. If you want, you can show that here individually. 2,200 plus 300. Sales revenue will remain the same for the first 2,200 units. So this one will remain the same, plus 300 multiplied by 700. Because this is the sales of 2,200 units which were sold for 1,000 per unit. And then this extra 300 units, they said the selling price is going to be 700. They did not say selling price is going to be 700 for all the units. They said this additional sales units will have a selling price of 700 per unit. So take the original sales figure and only increase the remaining 300 units by the 700. So that will give you the sales value. Let's continue. The average material and labor cost of each unit will be 290 and 130 respectively. But all of this information you need to think is only for this extra units. This is not for everything. Okay. So average material and labor cost each unit will be 290 and 130 respectively. So again, take the original figure plus 290 multiplied by 300. Again, original figure plus, how much is it? 130. Multiplied by 300. 300 is the extra in sales, so that's why extra in the variable cost also. Variable overhead, they said will remain unchanged, which is 15 pounds before. So it will be 15 pounds for this one also. Let's see how much was the variable overhead before. You can see variable overhead per unit is 15 pounds per unit. So take the original cost plus 300 multiplied by 15. For extra units, extra cost. Calculate the total variable overhead equal to minus sum of these three cells. Change color and calculate the contribution. Then continue. Let's calculate the remaining overheads, see if there is any changes in there. An additional administrative assistant will be required, costing 23,500. Distribution costs are expected to increase by 15% as additional warehousing will be needed. All other costs will stay the same. So only two costs are changing, which is administrative assistant cost will be increased by 23,500 and distribution costs are expected to increase by 15%. So let's do that. Administration and distribution. Everything else is remaining same. So this one will still remain the same. Heat and light will remain the same. Equipment hire will remain the same. Depreciation will remain the same. Marketing will remain the same. Administration is increasing by 23,500. So take this one and add 23,500. Distribution is increasing by 15%. Take this one plus 15% of this one again. Add it together to increase the 15%. Do the total with a minus sign again. Change color. And let's do the operating profit. Contribution minus total overheads. So your operating profit is now 679,475. Arial and Calibri. Sorry, there's some change in the font. Let me change that to same. You don't need to do that until and unless they ask you. I just want to look at uniform. That's why I'm changing it. Okay, let's continue. So that's the B part of the question completed. We finished the budget for the new order. On the budget information worksheet, ensure the worksheets use Arial font and perform a spell check on the worksheet, correcting any spelling errors. Format the currency cells to show pound sign with a thousand separator and no decimal places and negative figures in red. So that's what I was changing in red beforehand only. But if you did not change it before, you can change it now. Okay. So only negative figures in red. Arial font, spell check and everything. So let's make sure everything is in Arial font. Yep, everything is in Arial as you can see. 1000 separator with no decimal places, only for the currencies. Format, currency and no decimal places. 1000 places will come automatically when we do currency. And then negative figures in red, which is already done. And spelling errors. They also want to check for spelling errors. So select the whole sheet to check for the spelling errors. Review and spelling. Equipment is spelled wrong. Check one by one. Don't ever say change all. Just say change. Administration is wrong. Change. Variable cost spelling is wrong. Change. Again, equipment hire is spelled wrong. Change. Administration is spelled wrong. Change. and says spell check is complete, you're good to go. So when you might have noticed a spelling mistake, don't change manually by yourself, because there might be some question later in the question somewhere to check and change the spellings. So we did that. And then in the next part of the question, it is asking you to write an email to Kabir. Okay, but as I told you, with the new papers of the synoptic assessment, you do not have any written part in the part B. This was still old format of the question paper, so that's why you can see this. But in the new part of the questions, you do not have any written work in spreadsheets. Okay, so I'm ignoring this particular task. Okay, so this is task 2.2 to do the budgets. Thank you for watching.